Hello and welcome everyone. On this video we're going to be looking at a Dometic refrigerator. This is in a Keystone ultralight camper. Now the issue that we're having is it's failing to work on electric. It works fine on gas. There is power to the refrigerator, so if we turn it on and we have it on auto, that's selected on auto, as you can see. Refrigerator seems to be getting power. So once we turn it on, after about 30-40 seconds, the refrigerator automatically wants to switch to propane, and it's failing to work on electric. So once the refrigerator realizes it's failing to start on electric, and of course you have no gas or your gas is off, it will put your check light on, indicating there is a fault in the system. So this is failing to work on electric or gas in this case, since we have the gas off. Now for that check light to go on, the refrigerator will try 3 cycles of firing the igniter on gas, and if that fails to come on after 3 cycles, now that might take 5 to 8 minutes for the refrigerator control board to go through that cycle, and after that 3rd time, if the refrigerator does not start, it will put the check light on. Now that's a very common issue with these Dometic refrigerators, and I'm going to show you how to diagnose and fix that issue. One of the very first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have shore power connected to the camper and make sure that connection has power. The second thing you want to look at is your breakers. You want to make sure all your breakers are on, and you want to take a look at your fuses and make sure there are no blown fuses. In this case, all the fuses are good, so we know our issue is not there. There is a control panel here. Those are known to go bad, but it's more common for the main control board, which is behind this refrigerator, to go bad more frequently. Now to access that control board, we'll have to access the back of the fridge, and there is access to it from the outside. So let's go take a look. Now here are some tools that you will need to diagnose your issue. A flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, needle nose pliers. You don't need the super long ones like these, just a regular needle nose will do, and a voltmeter or a multimeter. So now looking at the outside of the camper, there is an access panel directly behind where the refrigerator sits inside this RV. So we'll go ahead and remove this access panel. To do that, there's 2 tabs in here that you want to turn. You can turn them by hand. Sometimes they are a bit tight. You can use a flathead screwdriver to turn them. All you're trying to do is face these vertical to unlock them. Once those are unlocked, you're able to pull up and remove this access panel. So this gives us the access to the back of the refrigerator. We can see the control board, which is here, and the rest of the mechanism that goes on the back of the refrigerator. So the very first thing you want to check back here is the outlet. This is what powers your refrigerator. It's plugged in. It's just like your house outlet. So we'll go ahead and unplug that. We have our voltmeter set to alternate current, and we want to check this outlet to make sure that's supplying the fridge the voltage it needs. It looks like we have 119, 118 volts, and that's perfect. So the outlet is working, so that's not our issue. We will go ahead and plug that back in. Next thing we want to look at is our control board, which sits inside of this cover. There is 1 Phillips head screw that's here that will need to be removed. Phillips head screw completely loose. We'll take our flathead screwdriver. And there's these slots on side of this. We'll go ahead and insert that in there and pry it outwards, just like that. And there's the same thing on the other side here. And that will remove that cover. Now we just need to fish that out from there so we can access our circuit board underneath. Sometimes these screws will fall out like that. We'll find that. It's here, so we'll set that aside. Now that we have the cover off our main control board here, we can start testing some things on this control board to see what our issue is. Now, the control board has 12 volts and your 120 or 110, whatever's coming out of this outlet. So we'll check both systems. So first we'll take a look at our 12 volt system. So we'll put our meter on direct volts, and we'll take our black lead from the meter and connect it to the ground here. Be able to just wedge it in here between these connectors to make a contact. There are 2 fuses in here. There's one fuse here, a glass fuse, which runs your 110 or 120, and there's another glass fuse here on the other side that's your 12 volt circuit fuse. So you want to make sure both of those fuses are good. Now that we've verified our fuses are good and that's not the issue, this is the 12 volt side here. So we'll probe that there, and the black lead on the ground. We have 13.5 volts, which is good. And we'll test both sides of the fuse to make sure it's flowing through. And looks like we're in good shape here. So that side of the main board is okay as far as power getting to the board. Now we'll test the 120 AC side. So we'll switch our meter over to AC there. We'll keep our ground right where it was. And let's take a look at our 120 circuit. Looks like we have 118 volts, which matches what's coming out of the outlet here. And we'll test both sides of this fuse to make sure it's flowing through. And it looks like we're in good shape here. It seems to be this main board is getting power. Issue may be internally, but we can do some further testing. So these refrigerators work by heating this boiler that's in here, and there's 2 ways that this one does, either by electric, which is a heating element right on top here behind this shield. This is the heating element going in to the boiler, and there's a gas burner at the bottom of this same boiler, which works just like your water heater by burning gas and heating the same boiler. So those are the 2 systems that this refrigerator works with. Again, now we're trying to deal with their refrigerator not working on electric. So at this point we have verified the fuses are good and we have power to our main circuit board here, but our issue may be that the power is not getting to our heating element, which is electric again. Now either the heating element itself is defective, or there is no power going to the heating element. So we'll follow these 2 wires coming from the heating element, and it looks like it plugs right into the bottom of this main board here. It's a pin J7 and J8. We'll go ahead and disconnect these 2 pins from the circuit board. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and pull the power going to the refrigerator at this point. It helps to take our needle nose pliers and unhooking J7 and J8. Again, those feed our electric heating element to the boiler. So now that we have unplugged that, we'll test for power on those pins. The wires from J7 and pin J8 removed. Again, those are going to our heating element. We'll go ahead and test for power coming from the main board. Make sure it's supplying the heating element. Pin J8, we have 118 volts. That's same as what's coming out of the outlet again, going to the refrigerator. So there is voltage going to the heating element. The fridge is still failing to work on electric. So our next step will be to test our heating element. Again, that sits behind this shield here in the boiler. We'll take these ends of the leads here going to the heating element, and we'll test that for resistance. So taking both of our leads, I put the meter on ohms to check the resistance, and with it connected we have 44 ohms. That seems to be well within the specs, so it's not shorted out, it's not open, so that's not our issue either. We have verified we got power at the outlet, we have power at the circuit board, we have power at the main control board, we have power going out to our heating element, and our heating element seems to be good also. So that tells me everything there is functioning correctly. The only issue that can be is an internal issue with the control board not recognizing that there is power and it keeps wanting to switch to gas. Now in a case like this, when we know all the components are functioning other than our circuit board or the main control board here, in a pinch, if you had to, you could bypass this system and run the fridge on electric, which I have had to do on a couple occasions. There is a procedure that you kind of have to do, so we'll keep that for a separate video. At this time, we'll go ahead and replace this circuit board since we have another one. You want to go ahead and turn your refrigerator off inside and make sure it's unplugged. So to remove this main board, there's one Phillips screw here, which is just a ground screw for this main board. So let's go ahead and remove that. So with that ground Phillips head screw removed, we can now go ahead and start disconnecting all the connections to it, all the wires. Now it's probably not a bad idea to take a picture of it before, so you can connect everything back together the way it's supposed to be on your new board. So let's go ahead and start disconnecting. All you have to do is squeeze the side of a connector that locks it in here, just like that. Pull that off. We will pull these off. So with all the wiring disconnected from the board, we can go ahead and pull the complete board. To do that, you want to lift it up on this end, and you can see where it slides into a bracket here, and you can see this. Once you push that, you're able to remove the complete control board. Here I have the replacement circuit board, or the main control board. Here is our old one that we removed from the camper. Now the new one is a little different as far as the design of it. Now the new one may look a little different, but the functions are going to be exactly same. Our pins are exactly same. The igniter's changed a little bit. This from our old one to a new one. Instead of hooking here on the side, it'll hook here on this terminal. Otherwise, all your other terminals are going to be the exact same. Now there is another option that was from a company called Diagnose. Now this one that I have is actually for the older ones. These did not have the igniter built in like I do on this model, so this won't work for us. I mean, you can make them work. Only issue you'll run into if you have a built-in igniter like this does not. You'll have to buy another igniter unit and wire it in with this to make that work. It is possible, but it's easier just to get the one that you need. That way all your connections are going to go on the same way. So let's get this one in. This will come with a cover also. Your original cover will not fit these. The housings are a little bit different. This one tends to be a little bit smaller than your original unit, but it will still fit in the same spot. All the screws will be the same. So let's get this in. I will leave part numbers and links to all this stuff in the description for you. Here I have our new main board in place. It screws in exactly where the original was. All the wires go in the same way. If you took a picture of it before you took them off, they just go in the same order. It's the same 7 pins that was on the original. Some of the internals here are different as far as fuses, but that's not going to make a difference. The only change is the igniter wire. On the original, again, it was on the side. This one will hook up right here. So at this time, all we need to do is put the cover back on. But before I put any covers on, I want to go ahead and test the system. So I have the refrigerator plugged back in, and let's go inside and turn this on. The camper, we have our camper plugged into shore power. Our refrigerator outside is plugged into the outlet. All our breakers are back on. All our fuses are back in if you took them out. This time we'll go ahead and turn the on button. And as you can see, it's on auto, so meaning it will pick electric instead of gas. So now we'll just go ahead and give it a few minutes and make sure it remains on electric and not want to switch to gas. You will hear it if it does switch. You'll hear the igniter trying to ignite the gas, but the gas is off, so it won't work on that. So let's give it a few minutes. We'll step outside, and there is another way to check to make sure it is working on electric. So with everything on inside, the refrigerator should be functioning on electric. I don't hear it trying to switch to gas. One quick way to check is behind this shield here, your heating element. You can follow these wires here going to our heating element, which sits right here. You can try to touch that a little bit, and I can feel it's getting hot, so that means it is running. Obviously it'll take quite a few hours for the actual refrigerator to cool, but I can tell just by touching that element that is actually heating up the boiler, and I can actually feel the heat coming on around all these shields. So it looks like we're in good shape. So I've had this fridge on for a couple hours now. You can definitely feel it's starting to get cool. Obviously it'll take much longer before we can load it. There is no check lights. It's still functioning on electric. So control board was the issue. Again, that's very common on these. So we have fixed that issue. We're in good shape. All we have to do is button up the outside, put the covers on, and the access panel back on. And this project is done. And as I promised, on the next video, I will show you how to bypass the system in a pinch. If you're out camping and your fridge refuses to run on electric, I will show you a trick to get you by for a few days. I thank you for watching.